Well, hello, everybody. I'm Stephen Billings, and we're here for another episode of the long-running series of videos for the 52 must-see movies and why they matter, based on a book. I don't have the book. Dan has the book, I think, who is also with me. Dan Skip Allen. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great. Glad to be back doing some of these episodes. I did Singing in the Rain with Billy Paulahan. Now we're doing, Meet Me in St. Louis with Billy Paulahan, and now we're doing Singing in the Rain with you. So I'm back in the swing of doing some of these episodes of the 52 must-see movies. So I'm glad to be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, we just keep running through these. I think we're about halfway through now. We still got a lot of great films to talk about, including the one we're going to talk about tonight, which is called, as Dan spoiled already, Singin' in the Rain, which is a 1952 film, and it stars Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connell, and Debbie Reynolds, who is the late, great Debbie Reynolds. We just lost her this past year, and she is the mother of Carrie Fisher, who we also lost recently. So we'll get more into them. But this film, Singin' in the Rain, is me personally, it is my favorite musical, I think. The skill that is displayed in this film when it comes to the dance and the singing. I mean, Gene Kelly is, to me, what I would consider a triple threat or even a quadruple threat of just talent, just singing, dancing, just acting ability, comedy, everything. This guy can do everything. He was truly one of the greats. But getting into what this film is about is basically you're set in 1927, Hollywood, and we're in the silent era still. And, Gene Kelly has slowly become the star, matched with an actress who is a big star. Also, her name is I don't know what her name is. Lena Lamont, yes, played by Gene Hagen, and basically they become kind of like a couple in cinema, and as they're getting very popular, talkies, as they called it then, which is when sound was introduced. The first talkie film comes out, and it's a big hit. It's The Jazz Singer, and now the studio that they're working for wants to make a talkie film, and the first one that they make is terrible. And now Debbie Reynolds' character is this like aspiring actress that Gene Kelly runs into, and as things happen as we go through this movie, they decide they're going to make a talkie picture that fixes the original attempt, and you get this great Singing in the Rain. So I guess, how do you feel about this film, Dan?
Well, I'll be honest, Stephen, that this film is a film that I haven't really. I've watched it a couple times, but it didn't really resonate with me as much as other musicals. But rewatching it, because I knew I was going to be doing this episode, I realized, wow, what a great film. One of my idols, one of my all-time idols, someone that I just absolutely, talk to people about and say, this is one of the reasons why I do what I do, and why I would imagine I could speak for you too, is Roger Ebert. And Roger Ebert has put down this is his favorite film of all time. And so thinking, Roger Ebert thinks about this as his greatest movie, and rewatching it, I understand why Roger Ebert would have selected this as his favorite film of all time. It really has. It's a love letter to Hollywood, first of all. It really shows you from the silent era to the current, of when the film was made, of that time of Hollywood. It really shows you how all the little bit nooks and crannies, the magic of Hollywood within this one movie. It's really very interesting how they throw all of these things in there. I still like a few other musicals better than this one, but it doesn't mean this is not a great film, because it really is. And like you said, Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, these guys have just amazing screen chemistry together. I mean, and we'll talk about it as this episode goes on. And of course, the Debbie Reynolds, the mother of Carrie Fisher. You know, it's sad. You know what happened to her last year. You know what I mean? And this is the film that she is most known for. So, and you already touched on it, the talkies. I mean, going from the silent era to the talkies, and I kind of want you to talk about the Lena Lamont character because I think it's better off that you bring that part of it up since you started this conversation already about this film, and I'll just basically comment on what you're going to say because this is kind of an interesting thing about this movie that really you don't see coming until you're like, oh my God, this is why such and such were great in the silent era, but they're not as great in the talkies. So back to you, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of a theme through some of these films from this time period. Even some of the films that have been on our list. All About Eve is another one that comes to mind. A movie that kind of hits on that time where there's a transition in the arts from either stage to screen or something like that, where the old generation has to evolve, and this is another example. And so the movie starts out, and you get Gene Kelly and Gene Kelly's character is Don Lockwood, and he starts out, and him and Lena Lamont are getting out. They're going to a movie premiere of their next film, and then they get interviewed, and basically he starts giving a speech about how his journey, about how he got to where he got. And as he's talking and saying one thing, you actually get the truth through flashbacks, and it actually shows his journey as this stuntman. Who is somebody that wanted to get into the movie business and just one day said, "Hey, I'll do this," and that's how he got in. He did this stunt in this Western film, and then they just started making him the stuntman and everything. And you see a lot of funny shots of him doing all these crazy stunts that nobody should do, and then eventually, when he gets his first chance at being in a real movie as a star, you meet the real Lena Lamont, and she's actually she's a bitch. And she, but then she's like, oh, you're maybe a star. Now she has this kind of almost thing where she like pretends to like him in a way, just because that's what she wants to be perceived a certain way. And that kind of course goes into all that stuff about how we look at Hollywood and how people can be fake. And there's this vizier of just, this is how we want to be perceived. So after he tells his fake story, they go into the movie premiere. It's a big hit. And what did you think of all that at the beginning there? I thought that was really clever about how they hint on that idea of the Hollywood being fake. There's a lot of fakeness in Hollywood. What did you think of all that at the beginning?
Well, the whole thing about him breaking Hollywood, the whole thing where he breaks into Hollywood is really cool. That he broke in as a stuntman, and he would do all the dirty work and do the the littlest little thing to get in, and he would they just showed all the different things he did, all the crashes and all the disasters and everything he did, and most of them. Then he ended up working with Lena Lamont, and they had a lot of chemistry in that silent era. But then when he was talking to the people for the premiere of whatever movie it was at the time, he was like, well, we just have good chemistry on screen. We're not really a couple. We're not really together off screen. And until you get to know Lena Lamont, you're like, oh, now I understand why he doesn't want anything to do with her. I wouldn't want anything to do with her. And, nobody would want anything to do with her, so I understand. They're just there to show all the people that are watching the movies and that follow the Hollywood rags. Hey, we're the stars of the movie. Of course, Donald O'Connor gets out of the car and like nobody claps for him. He has to stand there because nobody cares about him. They were waiting for Don Lockwood and Lena Lamont, and of course the whole place goes nuts for them. And but my thing is, her voice is one of the most ridiculous voices I've ever heard in my entire life. Even today, I'm like, wow, how the heck could you be born with that voice? You know what I mean?
Well, we're getting there. We're getting to that part. So after this movie premiere, we get our first chance at meeting Debbie Reynolds. And so the movie's a hit. He's leaving the theater. He's trying to get out, but he gets attacked basically by a bunch of fans. And he makes this great getaway where he jumps up on a bus and and jumps into another car, which is driven by Debbie Reynolds, and scares the crap out of her. Tries to get a cop to help her, but he's like, "Oh no, you're Don Lockwood. No, it's okay. You'll be okay with Don. He's a star." Oh, okay. And then they had this whole conversation. He thinks she's attractive. He's trying to hit on her, and she's not really buying into it. And kind of like puts him down about him being a movie actor in that, because it's a silent film. That's not really acting. You can't hear them talk. You can't. All you get is this and this, and she kind of makes fun of him. So after that, they part ways, and from there, we get the whole jazz singer thing. The first talkie comes out. It's a big hit, and now the studio exec wants to make a talkie film. And they have this movie that they're working on, and he comes in the middle of it and says, "Hey, we're not doing this. We're stopping this, and we're gonna do this musical, or not musical, but we're gonna turn this into a talkie picture." And the thing that's funny about this is this is part of the love letter to Hollywood stuff. I love their attempts at filming this movie, trying to place the microphones. It's hilarious. It's like they have not got it figured out. And they got this huge microphone, like what you would see a singer, on a stage use, and they're trying to plant it in places where it will work. What did you think of all that? I think that's just really fun stuff of them trying to figure out. It's like, wonder if that's what it was actually like.
Yeah, well, that was one of the funniest scenes of the whole movie, when the director cut, and then they moved it around. Speak into the microphone. She's like over here or over there, speaking everywhere except into the microphone. So half of what she's saying you can't hear. And of course the director, he's getting more frustrated as this is going on, and it's really one of the funniest scenes in the whole movie. And of course then they realize, what can we do? But there's a party, right? Don't you remember that there's a party, and that Don Lockwood runs into the Debbie Reynolds character at the party, because she's part of like the Copacabana dance girls, and she has to jump out of a cake, so.
Yeah, Kathy Selden is her name. And yeah, there's a party, and he's been looking for this girl for a long time. She jumps out of a cake. And of course Gene Kelly takes he has to comment on it after she puts him down for being an actor. She's jumping out of cakes, and she's supposed to be an actress. So that was a fun scene there. But she tries to get at him by throwing a cake in his face, and actually he hits Lena Lamont in the face. So now you have a grudge between Lena Lamont and this girl she doesn't really know. But yeah, so they're trying to make this movie, and they just know it's not. I mean, they get it done, and then they show kind of like a special preview for a selected amount of people, and it's terrible. Obviously, as you hinted at earlier, her voice is terrible. He has It's like that scene in Dumb and Dumber where he's like, "What's the most annoying sound in the world?" played into somebody's normal talking voice. And yeah, that along with the fact that they have still not figured out the microphone situation. She'll turn away from it. You can't really hear it clearly. She's got pearls on her neck, and she's like touching the pearls, and it's like making all this rattling noise. It's terrible. And people laugh at it. Like they're watching it and they laugh at it. It's not worked out. It's going to be a bomb. And then, you know, with the Debbie Reynolds character, she as you see throughout some other scenes, she can sing and she can dance, she can do these things. And they find her doing like a commercial or doing a little musical thing that they're shooting, a commercial maybe, I'm not sure. And they're like, look, we can get you to, we need your help. We need you to do something with this. So originally their plan is to get her to do all the voice stuff for her in the movie. And so they do it. And of course, you know, this, you know, she doesn't know. As long as they don't tell Lena that it's happening, you know, we'll let her do all the singing and do all the voice stuff for her. What do you think of that idea of having that replacement? You know, that's another hint on Hollywood a little bit about how they're buying more into the fakeness of like somebody can't actually do it. They're getting a non-talented person and making them perceive them that they're actually talented.
Yeah, that is a really, you know, you want to talk about the trickiness of Hollywood, that is something that was really a tricky little thing that they pulled off, because with the movie being such a bomb with the preview, they had to think of something. And it was Don Lockwood's idea that said, hey, or why don't we use Debbie Reynolds of Kathy Selden's voice over her? We'll just have her say the lines and then her word them like she would in a silent picture. And then it would work. It will work. And of course, you know, Lena Lamont doesn't like that. Once she finds out, she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not right. Who the hell is this girl? Why does she have to speak over me? And of course, you know, eventually they figure out that it's going to work and it's the best possible scenario to save the picture. And then also they have a new way of framing it as well, a new framing system to frame it. This is like a movie about like some people from a foreign country in like 1700s, and they have to figure a way to get it to where they're talking. But how do they get to that point? Is they have to do some kind of like a framing sequence or a different thing than the actual movie was supposed to have.
Yeah, basically this is like almost like a glorified look into what nowadays we call reshoots, to redo a movie like what we're dealing with in, you know, with Batman v Superman, or not Batman v Superman, but Justice League and like these big movies that get these reshoots, and you're like, what's going on with these? Are they reshooting the whole movie? This is kind of the situation that kind of shows that, where they have a they that is not working, and then they go in and then they change it and reshoot scenes. They make this movie into a musical, and they add it. They're gonna, you know, cut bad scenes out, add in musical numbers, and work around it, along with the replacement of Lena Lamont's voice. And yeah, I mean, and let's not of course not going to forget this. I was going to kind of wait towards the end to go through them kind of a little bit, but there's some great musical numbers. Obviously, this is a musical throughout the whole movie. One of my favorites is is with you know, O'Connell, Make 'Em Laugh is a great one. Even though he kind of goes spastic at the end, he's like a dancing zombie, where he's like prop falling like every 5 seconds. He's a little crazy in that scene, but he's talking about how you got to make something that makes him laugh. And it's a really good musical number. What is your favorite musical number in the movie, you think?
Well, you know, it's obviously, you know, because Donald O'Connor's in a tough spot in this film, because he doesn't want to embarrass Lena Lamont, but he also knows that Kathy Selden is going to be a star. This is the new era, and she's going to be a star. He needs her to really help launch a new era of the talkies and in the musicals and stuff like that. So he's kind of out and about, and he's, you know, Singing in the Rain, the actual title of the movie. Singing, he does it twice. He sings it twice, actually. He sings it once and he gets stopped by a police officer. Then he sings it later on. But I think that one, because it really shows you what he's going, his emotional state at that time of what is he going through, you know, and it's perfect. Singing in the Rain. You know, we'd all be there if we were him. We're like, man, what are we gonna do? You know, and he ends up singing in the rain. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. I think that's probably my favorite number in the film too. It really shows off the talent of Gene Kelly in this one scene. The fact that he's working in all this water, like there's water everywhere, and he's doing these dance numbers. A lot of tap dancing, of course, and jumping on lampposts and using an umbrella to using it, swinging it certain ways. It's just fantastic, and just the way he acts as he sings, because that's important in musicals. You know, singing, yes, it's great to have a good voice, but if you can't express it through your body language, it doesn't come off as well. And that, I think, separates a lot of actors that do musicals. I think, there's other examples. Whenever I see Hugh Jackman in something, I think he's really good when he does, like with Les Mis, he's really good. He's a stage actor, so he is. But yeah, I think I would agree. Singing in the Rain is probably my favorite number. But going back into the story, basically they get the film done, but apparently they're giving Debbie Reynolds' character full credit. They're going to let everybody know that she was involved in the voice and the singing and all that stuff. And of course, Lena Lamont's like, "Nuh-uh, you're not going to discredit me. I will sue you if you do this." So they have to give in to her, and they put in, because she sends out this whole thing to the press about it, and it kind of puts them in a situation where they can't do anything about it. So they released the movie. The movie's a big hit. The crowd loves it. And, they're backstage. And basically she puts them in a situation again where they're like, Debbie Reynolds' character is going to continue to do this. They love me. You want to screw with the money. You want to, the crowd loves me, not her. They don't know who she is. So basically they decide they're going to embarrass her. Gene Kelly is like, you know what? Go out there. We're going to put Debbie Reynolds behind the curtain, and you're going to sing, because the crowd loves it. They want her to sing a song for them. And she, Debbie Reynolds hides behind the curtain and sings as she's out there miming it. And then they pull the curtain back and reveal it, embarrassing Lena Lamont, and she runs out of the theater. What did you think of that whole scene? I thought that was just genius. It's hilarious. She gets her comeuppance in that scene.
Yeah, I mean, we throughout the movie we know the true Lena Lamont, but the people that are watching the movies, they don't know. They see her doing the faces, doing the hand gestures, doing everything in the movies. They don't know who the real Lena Lamont is. So this is Gene Kelly's, Don Lockwood's way of showing people the true person behind the curtain, and that's once again going back to the trickery of Hollywood, and they showed the person behind the curtain, and the person behind the curtain is Kathy Selden, and of course this launches Kathy Selden's career, and it basically buries Lena Lamont's career after this, because she's really talentless, to be honest. She's just a woman that looks beautiful with really no talent at all. And this is the movie that really buries her. And she does get her comeuppance, like you said. She deserves this to happen to her, because she didn't want to work with them. She didn't want to try to make a better career in a better movies, better studio atmosphere and everything for everybody involved. She was just thinking about herself, and she got what she deserved.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a cinematic universe, I would be putting like the character from Sunset Boulevard, and this is just Lena Lamont is like the aged Lena Lamont in Sunset Boulevard, and she's like, "I was a star," That's in my head. That's the cinematic universe, Singing in the Rain to Sunset Boulevard. But Yeah, I know, right? Good double feature. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's great, and there's a nice little singing part there at the end where Kathy Sutherland's trying to leave, and because she's kind of embarrassed by it, she feels kind of bad, you know, she doesn't know how to feel, and then the crowd stops her, and he kind of woos her back to the stage, you know, letting her know it's okay and that he loves her, and announces her to the world basically, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where the movie ends basically, and it's just, yeah, it's like I said at the beginning, it's probably my favorite musical. There's a lot of great musicals out there. Even most recently, La La Land. Really love La La Land, which takes a lot from this film. There's a specific scene where uh, you know, Kathy and Don are together, and they're on the lot, and they go into this big sound stage, and it's almost like the scene in La La Land where they float into the sky, and they're on a sound stage, and it looks like a big like background of like a sunset ish kind of sky. The wind, she turns on the fan. It kind of gives you the behind the scenes of what happens in a scene like this, what it takes to make that scene happen. And he kind of like has this back and forth with her. They dance and sing, and it's great. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. But so bringing it down to what we ask ourselves every episode, why is this movie essential, Dan? Why is this a must-see for everybody?
Well, there's a few musicals on the 52 must-see movies and why they matter. And, you know, I still go back to Roger Ebert. You know, this guy, he just knows about film. You know, he has a love of film. And the love of Hollywood, the Hollywood love letter that this film is, Singing in the Rain, I think it really shows you where Hollywood came from and where it was going and how great Hollywood is. And it mixes so many different genres in one at the same time. You know, the musical, the drama, the comedy, the black and white, this, you know, the color, you know, and all the different things. And I think that's the reason why it's such an essential film. And obviously, you know, there's so many great musicals, but when you're dealing with 52 films, you can only put so many on there. And I would not be surprised if it wasn't when Carrie Fisher was on the 52 must-see movies and she chose this. I would not be surprised if she was the one that chose this film, because she was one of the hosts and she chose some of the movies, and with Robert Osborne. So this would not be a surprise to me if she was one of the ones that chose this. And it makes sense to me because it's such an iconic film in Hollywood. And like you said, La La Land takes a lot from this. Obviously, when they readjusted the period piece movie, they added this dance scene, and that was really something that La La Land I think maybe it took it a lot out of. So it makes a lot of sense, and that's why a lot of folks like La La Land so much. It did remind them of this film a lot. And, you know, why not? Why wouldn't you want to be reminded by this great film?
Yes, most definitely. And for me, other than the film itself, I think for me what makes this very essential is this is kind of, as I said at the beginning, I think that this is really the showcase of Gene Kelly. I think this is the thing that is remembered the most about him. Of course, Debbie Reynolds and Donald O'Connor is really good too, but Gene Kelly in this film, and I meant to mention he's also a co-director in this movie. He's a co-director, so this dude does everything in this movie, and I think for me, the essentialness of this movie is this is the master Gene Kelly. This is what you need to see this guy. Like, that's what's so essential about this movie for me, because I watching the dance scenes and watching his acting and going between all that stuff, a lot of the shots are all one take shots. There's no fancy editing. A lot of the dancing's all in one take. And the stunts that they do, it's beautiful. And the movie, for being a 1952 film, is beautiful. the version I got you see behind me is probably the best version you can watch it, and it's stunning. It reminds me of how stunning like The Red Shoes is, which is another older film, and it just sometimes there's certain films that just or stand out just visually like that from the time that you're like, they were making movies that looked that good then, like, wow, like it's crazy. But for me, the essentialness is mostly Gene Kelly for me. I think he's just one of the most fantastic stars we've ever had in Hollywood, and he needs to be seen. So, but that's going to be it for this episode of the 52 must-see movies and why they matter. We will obviously continue to put out these videos on the Best Damn Movie Show channel, run by the man here, Dan Skip Allen. Dan Skip Allen, where can we find you?
You can always find me at Dan Skip Allen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Also, I'm the host of the Top 5 Weekly, where we run down different topics each week. And this guy right here and Andrew and a bunch of other people are co-hosts on that or panelists on that show. I do my own movie reviews, so you can go to my own YouTube channel, Dan Allen, on YouTube as well. I do my own movie reviews on there. So I appreciate Stephen doing this with me, and like you said, we got plenty more to go.
Oh yes, and you can find me at Stephen Billings everywhere. Instagram, I'm on Stardust now, doing stuff. YouTube, Film Club Central, and that'll be it for this episode, guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.